Hey everyone, Kaylee here. So today we're going to talk about hair extensions. I wanted to go over just some of the basics of extensions in general and the way that I wear my extensions. I'm also going to be answering some questions that you guys asked me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So thanks to everybody who sent me questions because that was super helpful with knowing like what I needed to talk about. And I'm going to be answering those questions at the end of the video. So we got a lot of ground to cover. Let's get into it. To start off, when you start looking to buy hair extensions, you're gonna find a lot of new terms. So I wanted to just go over a couple with you really quick. First, you're gonna see wefts referred to. A weft is really just this like string of hair. It feels really weird to hold this, but you can see that it's not super duper thick. You can still see through it, but that's generally what a weft is. The next term that you might hear when you're looking around is Remy hair. Now you'll see human hair referred to. That seems pretty obvious. Remy hair, however, seems fairly ambiguous. But what it really means is that the cuticles of the hair are all aligned in the same direction. The cuticle of your hair is like the outside portion, and it's like all these little shingles that lay on top of each other. And so basically, whenever your hair is hanging all in the correct direction, you've got all these like shingles that are laying like this. However, if the hair wasn't aligned so they were all going in the right direction, if some hairs were upside down, they'd get locked together and then they'd start creating tangles. Then you multiply that by a couple hundred strands of hair and you're gonna end up with one balled up mess. And if you ever buy extensions or see people that have extensions with that problem, that's usually what it is that it wasn't all aligned correctly. So Remy hair, pretty important. You might also find double drawn hair, which basically means that it goes through that process of sorting twice. So you get all the cuticles aligned, everything looks good, and then they go back and check their work and make sure everything really is a-okay. You're gonna see clips referred to. These are the clips that people are talking about. It's just these little snap clips with teeth and usually a little bit of silicone right here to help them grip, and they just go into the hair and snap closed. And then finally, you'll see grams referred to a lot. And usually the weight of the extension or the weight in grams that you see is meant to indicate about how thick each different set is. And it's a little bit conditional upon how long each extension is. Like if you buy a 30-inch long extension that weighs 100 grams, it's gonna be a lot thinner than if you were to buy a 14-inch extension with 100 grams. That would be a lot thicker. So just keep in mind, anytime you go a little bit longer, it's gonna get a little bit thinner. But usually people are ordering within like 18 to 22 inches and there's not gonna be a huge difference when it's just that much. So while we're on grams, let's talk about the different weights because you're gonna see all these different weights referred to and it's gonna seem super confusing. So let me just sort it out for you. Usually within the 100 to 130 gram extension range are gonna be your fine or thin hair extensions. That is usually the smallest amount that a set is going to be, and usually your extension companies are gonna say that's best for fine and thin hair. I agree with that. If you're going for length and a little bit of volume in fine thin hair, then that 120 gram amount is usually the right amount. But if you have medium hair, like medium thickness, and you just want a little bit more fullness, 120 grams can be a great way to get that. Just don't try to go any longer. If you want to go longer and you have medium to thick hair, I would recommend in the 200 to 250 range. And I think that's a good like all around standard to go for. It's gonna really give you that extra volume no matter how thick your hair is, and it matches enough people's actual volume that it will extend the length of your hair really naturally and really seamlessly. So if you're really just unsure, I really, really love the 220 grams. And then you can really get into the 300 to 350 gram range. And typically I refer to that as slightly excessive, but absolutely hair goals. Like it's way over the top. You're gonna have all of this hair, but it looks amazing. So if you want to just walk around with super duper thick mermaid hair goals, that's really what you're gonna go for. So those are all like the basic terms. Let's talk about some of my favorite extensions to wear and what you usually see in my videos. I've been wearing my fantasy hair extensions for a really long time. A lot of you guys were asking for like what place I recommend to buy hair extensions from. I absolutely recommend them. They have like a ton of different lengths. You can buy 14-inch extensions all the way down to like 20-something inch extensions. They have tons of different thicknesses. You can even buy like custom lengths. It's really cool. And their customer service and their customer care is really great. And I have never gotten a bad batch of hair from them ever. So for those reasons, I really highly recommend them. So the set I have is 350 grams. It's their Colossal Set, and this is part of it, and the other part of it is in my hair right now. And you might be wondering, like, I just said 350 grams is a lot, and I said 120 grams is good for fine hair, which I consider myself to have. Well, I like to buy the super, super thick sets and then only wear like a third to half of it at any given point, partially because that extends the life of the set, so you can like wear half, and once you wear that half out, start working on the other one. But also, when you buy these thicker sets, they're typically what's called triple or double wefted, which means they either have 2 or 3 wefts on one band. So instead of putting in 3 totally different clips that look like this and taking up a ton of real estate on my head, I put in 1. So instead of buying a thin set where all of these would be separate and then you'd have to put 3 different ones on your head, you buy the thick set and you only have to put 1 on your head. And when you have finer hair like I do and you can't wear extensions above here without them showing, that works really, really well, because I can put in 3 clips like this and it actually gives me the volume of an entire 120 gram set while only being 3 clips. So that's the hair extensions that I have. I also wanted to show you how I typically wear them. So the first thing I do is make like a massive U-shaped parting in the back of my head. And then I'll grab one of these longer clips. So this has 4 clips on it, which means that it's one of the longer ones in the set. And I'm just gonna take it and put it right along that U shape. So now I'm gonna do the same thing slightly higher up, and I'm basically gonna place another set of extensions right over that. And now I'm gonna use these 2 3-clip wefts, which means they're slightly shorter than the 4-clip weft I just used, but I'm gonna layer them over each other a little bit so they're gonna reach from temple to temple. And you can see that I have colored these to match my hair a little bit more. I've been meaning to do that with the rest of the set for the last 2 years, but at least I have these 2. And that is typically how I clip mine in. If you want a little bit of extra security, you can also tease the base of your roots where you're trying to clip the hair in. Usually a good idea, but again, I can be a little bit lazy, so sometimes I just clip them in the way they are. But I like that because it gives your hair a nice natural taper, so it kind of gives layers to the extensions without actually cutting them, and it's really easy to hide in like half up, half down hairstyles or like a braided hairstyle. All right, so now let's get into some Q&As on hair extensions. First of all, Sarah Tingle on Instagram asked, how often do you wear them? I mean, it's totally up to you and your own preference. For me, I'll wear them like once or twice a week. Sometimes if I haven't had my hair cut in a while and I wanna hide how bad my ends are, I'll wear extensions. If I want a hairstyle to look really great and not have to put a ton of work into it, I'll put in some extensions because the extra fullness just kind of adds that extra little touch. But you know, like once, twice a week, I don't wear them very often, but you can wear them every day if you want. Next, I got an absolute ton of questions on whether you can curl them, dye them, or use products on them. If you buy human hair extensions, the answer to all of those is yes. They work just like human hair. So curling and using products, I would do the exact same thing like you do on human hair. Dyeing them, however, you need to know that they've been processed already and you don't know the hair's history. So if you try to color it, things can go kind of crazy. So if you want a specific color on your extensions, I would recommend having a stylist do it, or at least like really knowing your stuff before you try it. Okay, so next, Lynn Kronholm, I think is how you say that, ask what color you should get. Should you go lighter or darker than your natural hair or your actual hair color if they don't have your exact color? The answer is always go lighter, because I'm gonna assume this is gonna show up a lot in your ends, maybe because it's thicker than your ends or longer than your ends. Your hair always gets lighter over time because it's exposed to the sun, wear and tear, all that. So you always wanna go lighter because that way it will blend more naturally. Also, if you get it and it's lighter and you want to tone it slightly, or maybe you want to take it just like a half step darker, that's a lot easier to do. You can always go darker. You can almost never go lighter with hair extension hair. And then this one was asked a lot, but Kristen Camp 127 asked this specifically, what about balayaged hair? So if you have, kind of like me, have like an ombre situation going on, how do you buy extensions? Well, I would say you have 2 options. You can either buy the lightest color of your hair, which is the set that I have, you guys just saw, so that it will match your ends. And then you just have to kind of do some like finagling around the root area to make sure that light doesn't poke through. Or you can buy ombre hair extensions. They make those now. And so that can be a really great option to just like make everything blend more smoothly. It doesn't have to be the exact color of your hair. Once it's all clipped in, it's gonna look great, and it will help to have that dark to light already in the extensions. You can also either color them yourself or have your colorist do it for you, but it's not a necessary step when you can either buy the lightest color or an ombre extension set. And then Gaming with G 101 asks how to choose the right color. And I just wanted to touch on this one more time. Anytime you're unsure of your color, most hair extension companies, and I know My Fantasy Hair, will let you send in a picture of your hair and they'll tell you what's gonna be best. And they're very good at that usually. I've done this with several different companies because when you're blonde, there's always 1,000 different options of blonde and you don't know which one you are. So it's really helpful. You just send in your picture, they'll help you out. And usually with extension companies, as long as you don't actually like use the hair and take it out of its packaging, you can send it back. So if you order it and it really looks wrong, you can send it back. My final question comes from Abby Mior, I don't know. She asked, what about curly hair? What do you do if your hair is naturally curly or wavy? And a lot of people actually ask this, like what if your hair is somewhat unruly? What if it is more curled or waved? Do you have to like fully wrangle your hair into submission before you put in extensions? So the answer is yes and no, and I'm gonna try to flesh this out for you. So a lot of extensions are from Indian descent, which means that a lot of them do have a subtle wave to them, and can kind of like be a little bit more pillowy like natural hair is. So if your hair sounds like it kind of fits in that category, you can let the hair extensions air dry normally and maybe just like slightly give your hair a little bit of serum to tame it, and like that'll help you to meet in the middle. But if you actually have like curly or wavy hair, you can either curl like normal straight hair extensions into a more curly shape to match your curl pattern, or you can buy hair extensions that are curly and wavy. I actually did a little research after reading these questions, and I found 2 extension companies that sound really great. There's Bella Curls and Curly Clips, and they both have great reviews. They both look like they have amazing hair, and you can pick all these different kinds of curl textures. So you can pick like little tiny kinky coily curls or more loose waves. And I think that can be a great option for those of you guys who love rocking your natural texture but still want to be able to augment it a little bit. So check those out if you're interested in some extensions that are meant for curly and wavy haired girls. And that is it for my info on hair extensions. I hope this helped you guys with your basic understanding of hair extensions. If you guys want more detailed videos, or I don't know, want to know more about extensions, leave it in the comments below. I'd love to hear more about what you want to learn so that I can make videos for you that you can learn from. So that is it for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Be sure to hit that subscribe button for more hair tutorials for every day, and come back on Saturday for my next hair tutorial. I'll see you then. Mwah. Bye.